My name is Evelyn Harper, but to my entire extended family, I am simply Auntie Evelyn, the quiet, unassuming widow who never asks for much and never seems to need anything. For the past 38 years, I have lived a life of deliberate modesty, choosing every day to blend into the background like a soft shadow at dusk. My home is a cozy two-bedroom apartment on the third floor of an old brick building in a quiet Brooklyn neighborhood. Nothing flashy, just warm wooden floors, bookshelves filled with worn paperbacks, a small kitchen where I still bake apple pie from scratch, and a living room with a faded floral sofa that has seen better decades. I drive a 12-year-old Subaru Outback, reliable, practical, with a few dings from parallel parking and a trunk full of reusable grocery bags. My wardrobe consists of simple cotton blouses, cardigans from discount stores, comfortable jeans, and sensible flats. No designer labels, no diamond earrings, no luxury handbags. I cook dinner every night, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, a fresh salad. And I enjoy the small rituals of life, morning coffee on the fire escape, evening walks in the park, reading mystery novels until my eyes grow heavy. My daughter Laura is married and lives in Chicago with her husband and 2 kids. She calls every weekend to check on me. My son Daniel is in San Francisco working in tech. He sends money sometimes thinking I need it. Neither of them knows the truth. Neither knows that the mother they see as a retired librarian living on a modest pension is actually the founder and majority owner of a luxury boutique hotel chain that spans 28 properties across the United States and Europe, with a personal net worth in the hundreds of millions. I never told them. I never needed to. Because real wealth in my eyes is not something you display on a shelf like a trophy. Real wealth is peace, dignity, freedom from the need to prove anything to anyone. It all began in the quiet aftermath of tragedy. When I was 24, my husband, Michael, a high school history teacher with a gentle laugh and kind eyes, died in a car accident on his way home from work. We had been married for 5 years, and our children were still babies. Laura just 2, Daniel only 6 months old. The grief hit like a tidal wave. I could barely breathe some days. My in-laws offered sympathy but little help. My own parents were gone. I was alone with 2 small children and a mountain of bills. I refused to break. I started with almost nothing. A second-hand sewing machine, a tiny storefront in a strip mall, and a sign that read, Evelyn's Alterations, Expert Tailoring and Repairs. I worked late into the night after tucking the kids in, stitching hems, taking in dresses, repairing suits for local businessmen. My fingers bled from needles, my back ached from hours bent over the machine, but I kept going. At night, I studied library books on business management, accounting, marketing. I learned how to price services, how to build relationships with suppliers, how to spot trends. Slowly, the shop grew. I began designing simple, ready-to-wear pieces, blouses, skirts, jackets, and sold them at local craft fairs. By the time Laura was in kindergarten, I had saved enough to buy a small commercial building. That was my first real investment. The property value doubled in 3 years. I sold it and reinvested in a rundown motel on the edge of town. I renovated it myself, painting walls, choosing linens, training staff, turning it into a charming boutique inn with 20 rooms. Guests loved the personal touch. 1 became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became a chain. Today, Harper Haven Hotels is a luxury brand known for intimate, high-end properties. City lofts in Manhattan, beachfront escapes in California, countryside retreats in the Cotswolds. I own the majority stake. My monthly dividends alone are more than most CEOs earn in a year. But I kept it all secret. I lived simply because I wanted my children to grow up valuing hard work, kindness, and independence, not entitlement. And I wanted to know how the world, especially family, would treat me if they believed I had nothing. The test came when my niece, Emily, whom I practically raised after her parents divorced and both remarried quickly, announced her engagement. Emily is the daughter I never had to raise alone. When she was 10, her mother, my sister, moved overseas, and her father was always working late. I took her in on weekends, then full summers, then permanently during high school. I helped with homework, drove her to dance classes, listened to her teenage dramas. Now 30, she was marrying into the Harrington family, one of the wealthiest old money dynasties in the Northeast. Real estate empires, private equity firms, summer homes in the Hamptons, yachts in the Mediterranean. Emily's fiancé, James, was sweet and grounded, but his parents, Victoria and Richard Harrington, carried an air of inherited superiority that I had sensed from family gatherings. When Emily called me, her voice bubbling with excitement, but laced with hesitation. Auntie Evelyn, the rehearsal dinner is at Le Chateau, the most exclusive restaurant in Manhattan. Please come. It wouldn't be the same without you. I heard the unspoken worry. Please don't stand out in a bad way. I smiled into the phone. Of course, sweetheart. I'll be there. And then I made my decision. If they already viewed me as the poor widowed aunt from the working class, I would lean into that image completely. I would arrive looking every inch the struggling relative to see how they treated someone they considered beneath them. It would be a quiet experiment in human nature, and my instincts told me it would be revealing. The days before the event were spent in careful preparation. I opened my closet and chose the most unremarkable outfit I owned. A light grey wool dress from a thrift store in 2008, shapeless and slightly pilled, the kind of thing a woman might wear when she has no reason to impress. I paired it with old black flats, scuffed from years of walking to the bus stop. No makeup, no jewellery, not even my simple wedding band. I pulled my greying hair into a messy ponytail and grabbed my faded canvas tote bag, the one I use for groceries, frayed at the straps. Looking in the mirror, I saw a woman who could disappear in a crowd. Tired, ordinary, forgettable. Perfect. On the evening of the rehearsal, I took a taxi instead of driving, paying with crumpled bills from my purse. As the cab pulled up to Le Chateau, a grand historic building with valet parking, doormen in white gloves, and a red carpet entrance, the driver turned around. "Lady, this place is for millionaires. You sure you're at the right spot?" I smiled gently. "Yes, family dinner." The doorman eyed me as I approached, hesitating before opening the door. Inside, the restaurant was breathtaking, soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, soft candlelight, white tablecloths, fresh roses in tall vases, and the quiet hum of wealth. Everyone was dressed impeccably. Silk gowns, tailored tuxedos, diamonds catching the light, heads turned, whispers followed. I ignored them, my heart calm. Emily saw me first. She rushed over in her elegant ivory dress, hair in perfect waves, hugging me tightly. "Auntie, you came. You look cozy." But her eyes darted nervously to her in-laws. Then Victoria Harrington approached, tall, poised, wearing a fitted emerald gown that shimmered with sequins, diamonds at her throat and wrists. Her husband, Richard, stood beside her in a charcoal suit, Rolex gleaming. Victoria's gaze swept over me, my wrinkled dress, old shoes, canvas bag, and her smile was polite but cold. "Evelyn, how lovely you could make it. We were afraid the cab fare might be a stretch." Richard chuckled. Yes, this place isn't exactly budget-friendly. Hope it's not too overwhelming for you. They led me to a seat, not at the main table with the family, but at a small side table near the kitchen doors, where waiters brushed past constantly. You'll be fine here, Victoria said sweetly. Dinner began. Plates arrived, caviar blinis, foie gras, lobster bisque, wagyu steaks, $300 bottles of Bordeaux. Conversation revolved around excess. Our villa in Tuscany just got renovated. The infinity pool is divine, Victoria said. And the shopping in Paris? I picked up this necklace for only 45,000 euros. They glanced at me, expecting awe. I nodded humbly. Sounds wonderful. Victoria turned to me. So, Evelyn, what do you do these days? Still that little office job? I replied softly, yes, just some clerical work. Filing, answering phones, nothing special. She laughed lightly. How charming. In this economy, it's good to stay busy. Not everyone can afford to retire. Then she leaned toward Emily. See, darling, we made sure you had everything. Private schools, European summers, the best universities. Some people just get by. She looked at me with fake sympathy. Evelyn, if you ever need help, a little something for bills or clothes, just say the word. We're family. She slid an envelope under my napkin. $500 inside. The table tittered. Emily blushed but stayed silent. The insults continued. Offers of hand-me-downs, jokes about my vintage bag, assumptions I couldn't afford the meal. Victoria even ordered for me. Something simple for Evelyn. She wouldn't want to splurge. During toasts, Richard raised his glass. To Emily and James, a union of excellence. Victoria added, Evelyn, say a few words. I stood, voice soft. Emily is my joy. I watched her grow, and tonight I'm happy. But true value is in kindness, not bank accounts. Polite applause. Victoria smirked. Then the manager approached with champagne. Mrs. Evelyn Harper, thank you for choosing us. As the founder of Harper Haven Hotels, it's our honor. Silence. I spoke calmly. Yes, this restaurant is part of my chain. I started with one motel. Now 28 properties, hundreds of millions. I pretended poor to see your true selves. Victoria went pale. Richard's glass shattered. Emily cried, hugging me. Auntie, you're amazing. I told them, you judged me by my dress. Now you know, the woman you pitied has everything. The night ended with their cards declining. I paid. Lessons were learned. Boundaries set. I returned to my simple life, richer in peace than they would ever be.